First period. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting this evening. Roll call, members of council present, except the deputy mayors on personal leave. First order of business is that we had a closed meeting prior to our meeting this evening. And it was held earlier in this evening in accordance with and as permitted by section 239(2)(a), C, and K of the Municipal Act 2001. The subject matter being considered is where the security of the property of the municipality, a proposed acquisition of land by the municipality, and K, a position plan, procedure, criteria, and instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on to be carried on by and or on behalf of the municipality. During the meeting, council received information on security measures relating to municipal property and provided direction on a special project. So I call upon right now about 30-second moment of silence, and then we'll please rise for the national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We acknowledge that we are on land and surrounded by water originally inhabited by indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the Wampum treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, Lenni, and Lenape allied nations that peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Three Fires Confederacy, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, Potawatomi, Huron-Wendat peoples, and the Caldwell First Nation. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving towards respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. To the members, any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the agenda is presented to you this evening. Hearing none, we'll have that certainly duly noted. Thank you.
Mayor,
Yep.
sorry. Yep,
Oh,
no,
sorry.
I do have just on the bylaw for the Gwen drain. So I'll just ask that we separate that during
Bylaws.
during bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to minutes. The regular council meeting, March 28, 2023, the public council meeting of March 28, 2023, 11th concession drain. Special council meeting, March 28, 2023, procurement policy and customer service council workshop. Could I have a recommendation on those minutes moved by Councillor Higginson and supported by Councillor Tonio? On those minutes, any errors or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, if any, that is carried. No sup. So we'll move on to communications. We have items 1 and 2. If I could have the communication for item 1 and 2 listed on the Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 regular council agenda be received as presented. Councillor Higginson, Councillor Jobin. On the motion, all in favor, opposed, if any, that is carried. Is there any of the two recommendations you want to speak of on any communications? Hearing none, we'll move on to committee minutes. There's none. Reports, we'll move on to Community and Recreation Services, CRS 2023-05. That's the Essex Power Youth and Community Fund, and we have the director, Beth Gignac, is going to bring the report forward.
Bonjour, good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. We recommend that report CRS 2023-05 regarding the Essex Power Youth and Community Fund be received for information. Just a bit of background: in 2014, Essex Power Corp approved the Youth and Community Fund policy that distributes funding equally amongst shareholders of Essex Power for projects supporting youth. The town of Tecumseh is responsible for administering our allocation of this funding. Since 2014 and throughout these years, these funds have supported a variety of programs, events, and local sport activities, including things such as Breakfast with Santa, McAuliffe Park Sports, outdoor movie nights, summer concert series, and a variety of other type activities. In 2020 and 2021, in response to COVID, just to note, there were a limited number of programs and events which were able to run, resulted in a surplus of YIC funds. Those funds were fully distributed last year by the end of last year, 2022. And as such, there's no longer a surplus. So we have received confirmation that Essex Power Corp once again has generously approved funding through its shareholders to continue to support youth organizations that offer activities and projects geared towards youth in 2023. $40,000 in funding has been approved with a $10,000 allocation coming to us here in Tecumseh. So 2023 is the 10th year of funding. Over the years, EPC has invested $400,000 to support youth in its 4 communities of Amherstburg, LaSalle, Leamington, and Tecumseh. That is no small amount of funding, and many children have had wonderful experiences as a result of the support of Essex Power Corporation. And we, on behalf of those children, like to thank EPC for their contributions and generosity. According to the funding requirements, funds are restricted to a maximum of $2,500 for each organization, activity, event, or project. There's special consideration for funding requests above $2,500, but only based on request. And we are the sole administrator and distributor of these funds. The eligibility guidelines and requirements are contained in the report, but key among them is that the projects must be youth-driven. I don't know what a youth needs or wants, but youth certainly do. And I look forward to reviewing those submissions. They have to include an element of education, fitness, art, culture, social responsibility. And I think we all know and are well aware that this youth generation is very, very focused on their social and environmental responsibility goals. Of course, the Essex Power logo will be prominently featured on various promotional items where possible. And we, of course, will be able to provide the EPC Board of Directors our biannual report detailing the funding and recipients amount received, and we'll also be providing an update to you as members of council on same. So we're just simply saying that once we receive the allocation of the $10,000, we will proceed, and there are no additional operating costs or expenses expected as a result of this program. I'm happy to entertain any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you for the report. Any questions or comments? Hearing none. Move the report. Moved by Councilor Tonio, supported by Councilor Dorner. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Public Works and Engineering Services, PWES 2023-29 LAS Sewer and Water Line Warranty Program, Service Line Warranties of Canada, Inc. Agreement Renewal Term. Mr. Bartnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'd like to give a brief summary of the report before you tonight. So the Service Line Warranties of Canada provides residents the opportunity for a low-cost warranty program that will help repair, replace, or restore critical infrastructure from the home up to the property line. The original agreement signed and endorsed by council took place in September of 2016, and it was for a 3-year term at that point in time. Service Line Warranties didn't start their marketing campaign until February of 2019, and as a result, council has previously extended their contract on a year-to-year basis from 2019 to 2022. As of February 8th of this year, they do have about 218 residents enrolled, with total policies totaling 359. The majority of those taking place in the sewer, septic lines and the water service lines. The total claims so far this year are 35, and they've been seeing an increase up to a 40% increase over those claims from 2022. The town's agreement with the Service Lines Warranties of Canada permitted them to use the town's name and logo on letterhead, advertisements, billing, and marketing materials. In return, the town receives 5% revenue for warranty products sold in that given year. So over the last 4 years, the town has received just over $5,100 over a 4-year period, averaging just shy of $1,300 per year. The recommendation as part of this report, it's recommended that notice be provided to Service Line Warranties of Canada, Inc., that the town intends to allow the renewal term within Section 3A of the agreement to commence, whereby the agreement will automatically renew for 1 additional year starting September 27th, 2023. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Moving recommendation, Councillor Higginson, Councillor Jobin. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Next is Public Works 2023-31 Municipal Class Environmental Assessment Notice of Amendment. Mr. Bartnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report has a recommendation that report 2023-31 titled Municipal Class Environmental Assessment Notice of Amendment be received by council this evening. An environmental assessment is a formal process in which the Ontario Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks evaluation the environmental impact of proposed projects. Under the EAA, or the Environmental Assessment Act, there are 2 processes for determining the impacts for specific projects. One being individual environmental assessments. Those are for the larger, more complex projects such as transmission lines, significant highway systems. And then they also have another category called the class environmental assessment. So they set out and standardize planning processes for groups of activities. So it applies to smaller projects that municipalities may undertake with respect to roads, water mains, sanitary sewers. In 2020, the provincial government began modernizing the almost 50-year-old EA program by working with proponents of Class EAs to propose changes that would align assessment requirements with environmental impact and reduce duplication and increase efficiencies of the Class EA process. On March 3rd, earlier this year, the MECP advised that the municipal Class EA has been amended as part of the ministry's work on the EA modernization. Some of the key updates as part of those updates. Some projects are now eligible for exemption just based on an archaeological screening process. Some projects are exempt in the event of an emergency. They updated some of the cost thresholds and exempting some transit projects that are already exempt through other various pieces of legislation. They did update the project schedules or the classification. So some projects that were previously identified as a Schedule C and required lots of study, lots of public consultation have now been classified as an A or an A+, which is a pre-approved project. They've updated archaeological screening process where certain projects would be exempt from the EA if the screening is completed. and they've updated the bump up requests previously identified as a Part 2 order or appeal. So under the new amendments, such requests are only available on the grounds that the order may prevent, mitigate, or remedy adverse impacts on the existing Aboriginal and treaty rights of the Aboriginal peoples of Canada. Where previously anybody can make a Part 2 order request or an appeal or a bump up request for any reason. So going forward, projects are now classified into one of the following schedules. They're either fully exempt from the municipal Class EA process. They're eligible for exemption based on the results of the archaeological screening process, or they will be classified as a Schedule B or a Schedule C type project. That's the end of my presentation. If council has any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Questions or comments? Hearing none. And move on the report. Councillor Houston, thank you. Councillor Dorner, support. All in favor? Oh, question? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Public Works Environmental Services. 2023-32. Supply of various vehicles.
Thank you, Your Worship. Before I begin, I would like to call the subject matter expert up here, our Manager of Public Works and Transportation, Mr. Kirby McCardle.
Well, being that there's about 4 more reports after this one here, I think you want to spread the wealth. I understand.
So I'll just go through a summary of the report, followed by the recommendations. And if there's any questions, Kirby or myself will be happy to try to answer those.
The only comment, not question, is please try to get local dealers to purchase vehicles. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine. You know, it's wonderful that we're giving business to folks down in Toronto, but we've got a lot of dealers here. Hopefully they can fulfill the requirements that the town's looking for. I know the big ticket items, you gotta move on, you know, on that, but that's my only comment. And no, I have another comment. I think it's the first time, Kirby, that I've seen reconditioning and instead of, you know, so I want to commend your department for actually looking at equipment and extending them as well in servicing. And also for recognizing the fact that, you know, at the end of the day, when things reach its life end, it's time to replace them instead of having costly maintenance bills. But to see some reconditioning, and especially on some of the salters and so forth, I think that's, I want to certainly commend the department and, you know, for actually saving taxpayers money. So I want to thank you for that. Question, comments? All right, move the report. Councillor Houston. I read the report and there's nothing there that's out of the ordinary, but okay, I won't steal your thunder.
I drove all the way here.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I gotta say, you gotta bring Kirby more often to the meetings. Things work well.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I could just provide a comment on the buying local. We did put out a tender late last year and brought a report to council, and we awarded 2 contracts, one for 3 pickup trucks that went locally to Provincial Chrysler, and another separate crew cab pickup truck was awarded to Amherstburg Chevrolet. So both local, but yes, so we haven't gotten to the tendering stage, but we're definitely hear you loud and clear.
Well, I think there's more availability, you know, of getting especially trucks. You're starting to see them now populate the parking lot. So maybe there'll be a greater opportunity. I know you like to get those nice red ones. But thank you for that.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So just a summary of the report. The town has implemented a fleet replacement schedule a number of years ago to efficiently manage the town's fleet in a cost-effective manner. This schedule is used to guide purchasing of new vehicles and equipment in designated years. Prior to replacing the vehicles, inspections are conducted to confirm the timing of the replacement, and reevaluation of the type of vehicle for replacement is considered to ensure the new replacement best serves the needs of that particular department. In accordance with this schedule and in consultation with administration, 19 vehicles and or pieces of equipment are recommended for purchase in 2023, including the following: one dump body, one extended cab truck, a water service truck, 5 pieces of equipment, as well as the rehabilitation of Viking inserts for public works and transportation services, one skid steer, one tractor, one trailer, and 4 mowers for the community and recreation services. And the allocation of funds for a replacement for the transit bus. However, we do note that there will be a forthcoming report here shortly from Development Services and Public Works and Engineering Services to speak more on that. Following council's approval to purchase the recommended vehicles and equipment in the amount of $957,500, requests for formal quotes for supply of vehicles will be prepared and advertised in accordance with the town's purchasing policy. Subsequent to the purchases and receipt of the new vehicles, the replaced vehicles and equipment would be declared surplus and sold at auction in accordance with the town's purchasing policy as well. 15 years ago, the town conducted a fleet review with the assistance of an external consultant. While this review is updated annually, administration is looking to implement a fleet strategy when the transportation supervisor position is onboarded in 2024. That will be forward-looking and considers innovations to the auto industry with a focus on electric vehicles. Research and industry consultations are being conducted to review the ever-changing landscape of EV vehicles. As options begin to align with the town's replacement needs, electric vehicles will be considered as a viable replacement option. The recommendations contained within the report that administration be authorized, it is recommended that administration be authorized to obtain quotations for the 2023 supply of various vehicles as summarized in attachment 1 to report PWES 2023-32, and that the equipment summarized in attachment 2 to report PWES 2023-32 be declared surplus and disposed of through part 6, disposal of surplus or scrap materials and equipment of the town's purchasing policy. And further, that Appendix A, titled Town of Tecumseh 2023-2032 10-year fleet funding and replacement schedules, and Appendix B, titled Town of Tecumseh 2023-2032 10-year fire and rescue service apparatus funding and replacement schedules, attached to report number 32, be adopted as amended. And furthermore, that funding for the purchase of the 2023 vehicles outlined in Appendix A in the amount of $939,500 plus associated cost for outfitting of $18,000 for a total of $957,500 be funded from the life cycle fleet reserve.
That includes 3 more shovels and two brooms. On the report, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Dorner.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, when equipment is at the end of its life cycle, do we recover comparable funds at auction as opposed to a trade-in?
Through your worship, to the councillor, yes, we do. Through the auction process in the last couple of years, we've actually seen quite an interest in municipal vehicles across the entire landscape. We used to use local auction houses, but now we actually use an online auction house that has a far-reaching grasp. It comes through the LAS program, and we became members with that, and we've been very successful in that program. So much so that even Casey, with his trade-ins for his parks vehicles and his parks mowers, we actually get more money on auction than we do on trade-in. We've been very successful with that. And I think, you know, in consultations with Tom going through this process, and when Janie was here beforehand in purchasing, we went through this, and it is a very good program, and we've had a lot, like I said, a lot of success selling the vehicles.
Right on. Yeah, thank you. Good to hear.
All right, any further questions or comments? Hearing none, then can I move and second on the report? Councillor Dorner, Councillor Higginson. All in favor? Oppose? That is carried. Thank you. D, oh, my gosh, Public Works, surprise. 2023-33, the 12th concession road water main replacement project tender award. Like Christmas every week or for Public Works. Mr. Bartnick.
Thank you, Your Worship, to members of council. In January of this year, council approved the 2023 to 2027 PWES 5-year capital works plan that included the construction of the 12th concession road water main replacement project. Christina, if you could perhaps go to attachment number 1. I believe it's a location map which may provide council some context. So the project generally consists of the replacement of approximately 185 meters of existing 6-inch diameter ductile iron water main on the 12th concession just south of Pike Creek, as depicted on the screen before you. So the tender closed on March 30th with only 2 contractors submitting a bid. Shayrock Construction Group was the low tenderer, and he has completed other recent projects for the town. The total project cost of $296,000 is over budget by $16,000. And the project will be funded from the Water Main Reserve Fund. The recommendations contained within the report is that the tender for the 12th concession road water main replacement project in the amount of $195,900 excluding HST be awarded to Shayrock Construction Group, and that bylaw 2023-48 be given first, second, third, and final reading to authorize the mayor clerk to execute an agreement satisfactory in form of the town solicitor with Shayrock Construction Group. And further, that project funding allocations reflecting a total budget requirement of $296,000 with a $16,000 increase to the original allocation be accommodated as follows through the Water Main Reserve Fund. So it would be an increase from $280,000 up to $296,000. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them now.
Thank you, Mr. Bartnick. Questions or comments? Hearing none, motion on the report moved by Councillor Houston and supported by Councillor Jobin. All in favor? Oppose if any? That is carried. Thank you. Move on to item number E, Public Works Environmental Services 2023-20 amendment to the East Town Line Drain, St. Clair Drainage Assessment Schedule.
Thank you, Your Worship. So at the December 13th, 2022 regular council meeting, council adopted the recommendations of report PWES 2022-26, which included the adoption of bylaw 2022-96, being a capital drain levying bylaw to provide for the collection of construction drainage assessments for the East Town Line Drain, the St. Clair Drain outlet. Through the process of issuing the drainage assessment invoices for the East Town Line Drain, administration detected an inaccuracy with the data presented and schedule in the schedule of Appendix A, including the total project costs that were identified within the report and the bylaw that was brought forward. These values depicted in the report and bylaw did not equate to the actual total project costs and have since now been corrected. The total drainage assessment to the town for the East Town Line Drain improvement is approximately $127,300. The town's drainage assessment will be funded from the Municipal Drain Life Cycle Reserve. I do want to add that although we do strive to provide excellent customer service to our residents, there are times that we as administration are imperfect. We have been able to review our internal processes and use this as a learning experience for assessing larger and more complicated drainage work. for future projects and to ensure that this type of administrative error does not happen again. The recommendations contained within the report, that reports PWES 2023-20 regarding a correction to Schedule A of bylaw 2022-96, being a bylaw which amended the drainage assessments estimated in the engineer's report based on actual costs incurred for the construction of the East Town Line Drain, St. Clair Outlet be received. And that the recommended update to Schedule A of bylaw 2022-96 be approved through the adoption of amending bylaw 2023-24.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Barney. Any questions or comments? Hearing none on the motion, moved by Councilor Higginson, Councilor Tonio, support. All in favor? Oppose if any, that is carried. And before we go to bylaws, Mr. Barney, I just want to say, you know, I think we're better than a week in now on our construction here on L'Esperance Road. And I just want to say it's actually going quite well. Keep my fingers crossed, touch wood. You know, and I like the outlets all, there's access and it's really just passing on to the contractor. They're really keeping that, you know, their work within that little confined area and so forth. So, and plus the traffic at times a little heavy and so forth, but you know what, it's moving well and so forth. So just pass it on to the folks that, you know, so far so good.
Thank you, Your Worship. Will do. I will like to just make one comment that the contractor Rudak Excavating is very responsive to the town's inquiries and needs, as well as some of the adjacent businesses as well. So it's very nice to see, you know, quick responses from the contractor. So.
I even noticed some of the contractors going into the restaurant businesses in that area buying their lunches. So I think they're supporting their, you know, the people around them. So yeah, just pass on. I think things are moving and hopefully Mother Nature will be kind to us. And you know, when you get these days like we've gotten the last few, certainly it'll help accelerate the project. So, but I just want to make notice of that a lot of the issues that people thought that we're going to have are not materializing, and I want to commend the general public as well for being patient and taking some initiative that you know, progress happens and sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain, but they're actually, you know, working around it quite nicely. So I want to just commend the general public as well for their patience and just to keep it up. All right, I will pass that on to you, Mr. Auger, on bylaws.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For first and second reading this evening, bylaw 2023-048, tender award for 12th concession road water main. Bylaw 2023-049, provincial gas tax transit grant. Bylaw 2023-050, appointments bylaw for the bylaw officer. And bylaw 2023-024, East Town Line Drain. And if so desired by council also this evening, that these same noted bylaws together with bylaw 2023-021, DeMonte Drain, receive a third and final reading this evening.
All right, on those 5 bylaws. Moved by Councilor Higginson, supported by Councilor Houston on 2 readings. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And now 3 readings in order. Councilor Jobin and Councilor Dorner on 3 readings. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried.
And for third and final reading as well this evening, bylaw 2023-022, go and drain. And this is in light of noting the earlier disclosure of pecuniary interest.
3 readings, Councilor Higginson, Councilor Dorner, all in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. Any unfinished business? New business, I believe we have. That was quick. Our Director of Parks and Recreation will give us an update on the wood carving in Lakewood Park.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay. Thank you. Here to provide you with just an update and information on the status of the carving of Chief Tecumseh, which is being funded by a grant from the Windsor Essex County Community Foundation. And this is the most recent illustration by Heather Malaby. The artist has been engaged to do the work. The mayor and the CAO had a conversation with Patricia Chanou, a descendant of Chief Tecumseh 2 weeks ago. And Heather and Patricia continue to discuss the final design. To note that there will be some representation of the Three Fires Confederacy added to this illustration. The possibility, for example, of a staff held in Tecumseh's right hand that has symbols of the Three Fires in it. We may need to change the position of the peace pipe. Typically, peace pipes are considered sacred objects and are not necessarily shown or in this manner. So there's some consideration of the peace pipe itself, recognizing that it itself was a gift from the military and symbolizes the coming together of nations. So there's some sensitivity there with regard to the peace pipe that we're discussing. We've also received indication that we should work somehow into the carving the 2-row wampum belt and or other elements of Tecumseh's bundle. And the wampum belt, of course, reflects peace, friendship, and respect between two nations. And we think that would be an important thing to attempt to do. All of which to say this will continue to be supported by the installation of a new garden, the Creator's Garden, in the area immediately adjacent to the sculpture. So I really just offer this as an opportunity for you to have a look at what will eventually transpire from the tree stump that is currently on the beach at Lakewood Park North. So I'm happy to take any questions, and this is simply for your information.
Questions or comments? I just looking forward to to add another very important piece that, to Lakewood Park, and what an appropriate way of honoring our namesake, and I believe he'll be facing the east, and which is very ceremonial to them. Sunrise is a very important part. We've learned that last year at the sunrise ceremony. And and it is a fitting spot for him because almost 200 plus years ago, or 100 and some years ago, no, 200 years ago, it was an important area because the retreat from Fort Malden up the Thames River to Fort London, they gathered at the foot of Manning Road. And so it's really an important piece. It's almost like he's overlooking Lake St. Clair and preparing, to move women and children out of harm's way. So it's actually going to be, I think, very important ceremony when we unveil it, proper this summer. So looking forward to that. And I'm glad that we got the blessing from the granddaughter to certainly move forward. So thank you. Thank you for that. And also to the CAO, thank you for your patience. And so now it's onward and let's get her done. And plus, I want to extend my thanks to Lisa Colodi, also from the Windsor group that are actually funding this project on our behalf. So on the report, accept the verbal report that's being presented, Councillor Tonio and Councillor Dorner. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Any further new business? Councillor Tonio.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a comment. I would just like to thank Kirby for the great job he did on McNorton. The traffic calming, what he's put up there is an excellent thing. It's calm. I've asked a few residents today. They've noticed it's changed the traffic flow. People have slowed down with the construction on Les Bronze. It became a busier road. So great job on how you designed that. I like how it looks, Phil, also. But I heard Kirby did most of it. So anyway, great job, Public Works. I've been working on it for a few years, and I really like how it looks on McNorton. It's a busy road, and great job doing traffic calming there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Tonio. Any further questions or comments? It's okay, Phil, you're forgiven. Okay, and nothing further than a motion to confirm the proceeding of our evening's work. Councillor Tonio moves, Councillor Jobin support. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Any notices of motion? Hearing none. Next meeting, Monday, April 25th. It should be, 24th. Special council meeting, strategic priorities. Okay, I better put that in my calendar. And followed by Tuesdays, April 25th, 4:30, quarter revision, 11th concession. 5 PM, public council meeting, ZBA 1650 Shawnee Road. 5:30, public council meeting, a new building fees bylaw, 6 o'clock, special council meeting, Turkey Creek watershed, hydraulic and modeling study, and 7 PM, regular council meeting. So with that, members of council, we are now in adjournment. Moved by Councillor Jobin and supported by Councillor Dorner. All in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. And good luck tomorrow, Councillor Tonio, on getting a new knee. So with that, I bid everyone a good night. And for those streaming from the comforts of home, thank you for joining us. And we bid you all a good night.